Have you ever noticed that some people earn decent salaries for years and still feel like they're only one unexpected bill away from financial trouble? It seems strange at first. If debt is simply borrowed money, shouldn't it become easier to escape as your income grows? Yet for millions of people across the United States and Europe, the opposite often happens. They work hard, receive promotions, and make more than they did 5 years ago, but somehow their debt doesn't disappear. In many cases, it quietly grows. The surprising truth is that debt is rarely just a mathematical problem. More often, it's the result of how modern financial systems, everyday habits, and human psychology interact in ways we don't always notice. Imagine someone named Daniel. He's 29 years old, works full-time in an office, and earns what most people would consider a respectable salary. Every 2 weeks, his pay arrives after taxes. Before he has much time to enjoy seeing the balance in his bank account, the money begins disappearing. Rent claims the largest share. His car payment follows shortly after, along with insurance, electricity, internet, and his phone bill. His student loan payment is automatically deducted. His credit card requires its minimum payment. Then come groceries, fuel, streaming subscriptions, and the occasional dinner with friends. Nothing about Daniel's lifestyle appears extravagant. He's not buying luxury watches or driving an expensive sports car. He's simply participating in what most people would call a normal adult life. By the end of the month, there isn't much left. Then something unexpected happens. The car needs repairs. A dental bill arrives. A flight home for a family emergency becomes necessary. Daniel doesn't have enough savings to cover the expense, so he reaches for the same solution that millions of people use every day: his credit card. At first, it feels manageable. After all, he only needs a little extra time. He tells himself he'll pay it off over the next few months. But life doesn't stop creating expenses. Another unexpected bill appears before the previous balance is gone. Soon, paying the minimum each month becomes part of his routine. This is where many people believe the problem begins, but the reality is more subtle. Debt doesn't usually trap people because they are irresponsible. It often grows because modern financial systems are designed to make borrowing feel normal, easy, and even responsible. Credit cards reward spending with points and cashback. Car loans make expensive vehicles appear affordable through monthly payments. Retailers offer interest-free installments that reduce the psychological pain of buying something today. Advertisements rarely ask whether you can truly afford a purchase. Instead, they ask whether you can afford the monthly payment. This small shift in thinking changes everything. Instead of asking, "Can I pay £1,200 for this?" people begin asking, "Can I afford £35 a month?" The total cost fades into the background while the monthly payment becomes the focus. Our brains naturally prefer smaller numbers, even when they add up to much larger costs over time. Let's look at a simple example. Suppose someone carries a £5,000 credit card balance with an annual interest rate of around 20%. If they only make minimum payments, they could spend years paying off that debt while paying thousands of pounds in interest alone. The original purchase may have lasted only a few months, but the financial consequences continue for years. Now imagine another habit. A £250 monthly car payment doesn't seem unreasonable. Add £150 for insurance, £80 for fuel, and another £70 for maintenance spread throughout the year. Suddenly, owning that car costs well over £6,000 annually before considering depreciation. None of these individual expenses seem overwhelming. Together, however, they quietly consume money that could have strengthened savings or reduced existing debt. This is one reason debt becomes so difficult to escape. Every pound or dollar committed to interest is money that can no longer build wealth. Financial progress slows because part of every future paycheck is already promised to decisions made months or even years earlier. The mathematics are surprisingly simple, but the psychology behind them is much more powerful. Human beings naturally value the present more than the future. Behavioral economists call this present bias. We tend to give greater importance to today's comfort than tomorrow's consequences. Buying something now provides immediate satisfaction. Paying for it later feels distant and abstract. Modern consumer culture reinforces this instinct every day. Online shopping takes only seconds. One-click purchases remove friction. Advertisements personalize offers based on our browsing history. Social media constantly exposes us to lifestyles that appear normal but are often carefully curated. Even intelligent, financially responsible people are influenced by these environments because they are designed around human behavior rather than financial logic. Decision fatigue also plays an important role. After a long workday filled with meetings, deadlines, and responsibilities, making careful financial decisions becomes mentally exhausting. Ordering takeaway instead of cooking feels easier. Financing a purchase instead of saving for it feels convenient. These decisions rarely seem significant in isolation, but repeated hundreds of times over several years, they gradually shape a person's financial future. Lifestyle inflation quietly adds another layer. When people receive raises, their spending often rises alongside their income. A larger apartment replaces a smaller one. A newer car replaces the older model. Holidays become more expensive. None of these upgrades necessarily improve long-term financial security. Instead, they create higher monthly obligations that become difficult to reduce later. The result is that income increases, but financial freedom doesn't. Imagine two people earning exactly the same salary over 10 years. One directs a large portion of every raise toward larger monthly payments. The other allows some lifestyle improvements, but also uses each raise to reduce debt faster and build investments. After a decade, the difference between them may have little to do with intelligence or income. It may simply reflect hundreds of small decisions that compounded quietly over time. Debt affects more than bank accounts. It changes opportunities. Someone carrying significant debt may hesitate to change careers, start a business, reduce working hours, or relocate for a better opportunity because monthly payments leave little room for uncertainty. Financial obligations can gradually limit personal flexibility without people fully realizing it. Stress often follows. Constantly worrying about bills reduces mental energy. It becomes harder to plan long-term because immediate financial demands dominate attention. Ironically, stress itself can encourage emotional spending, creating a cycle that becomes increasingly difficult to break. Financially thoughtful people don't necessarily avoid debt completely. Many have mortgages or business loans. The difference is often how they think about borrowing. Instead of asking whether a payment fits into this month's budget, they ask what that payment prevents them from doing over the next 5 or 10 years. They regularly consider opportunity cost. Every recurring expense represents money that cannot be invested, saved, or used to create future flexibility. They also separate temporary emotions from permanent financial commitments. A new phone may feel exciting for a week, but its monthly payment can remain for years. They understand that convenience is valuable, but they recognize that convenience often carries hidden costs. Most importantly, they don't measure success by how much they can afford to borrow. They measure it by how much freedom they can preserve. Perhaps that's the biggest misunderstanding about debt. Escaping it isn't usually about finding one brilliant investment or doubling your income overnight. It's often about recognizing the invisible forces that quietly shape everyday financial decisions. Once you begin seeing those forces clearly, your choices naturally become more intentional. Money is rarely just about numbers. It's about behavior repeated over time. Small habits become large outcomes. Small monthly obligations become major financial commitments. And small improvements, repeated consistently, can slowly move someone from surviving each paycheck to building genuine financial stability. If you learned something new today, a subscription is the best way to support the channel. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.